All right, welcome to Gerald Khalil's Conversation Piece. I am along here with Koran Blast. How you doing, Koran?
What's up, man? How we doing today?
We're doing good. Springtime is here, and as you know, springtime that means NCAA basketball, and also means that the NBA playoffs is coming soon. And
Right.
we want to go over with about 10 games, less than 10 games left in the NBA season. Let's talk about this Eastern Conference and who we think is going to be the serious teams coming out of the Eastern Conference. And, also we can also talk about any play-in teams if you like.
All right, cool. We start with the Eastern Conference. So I would say, we could talk about those top five teams, which has changed a lot since the injuries that has happened since we seen what has transpired over the last, I want to say, 3 to 4 weeks. But we got Cleveland there at number one, still 5 games ahead of the Celtics right now. So they're balling out. They're doing pretty well. And they got a great duo over there. You got Boston at number two. Um, they are 54-19. They're doing pretty well too, right where they need to be in the playoffs, in the playoff hunt. And you got the Knicks. Also, they're at 45-27. And they're number three, which is surprising to me. They did a real good job this year with the 10 games left. You got the Pacers. That's been crazy over the last, I would say, 3 weeks. 43-30. So great job there. And the sneaky team that's in there right now, that's in the top five is Detroit, which is very surprising to me. So that is the Eastern Conference in a nutshell. We got, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Orlando, Chicago, and Miami to end out that top 10. But yeah, Detroit is very, very surprising to be in that spot right now.
Yeah, Coach JB Bickerstaff, he was former coach of the Cavaliers actually, and he's gone over to Detroit, and he's done a fabulous job. They got some good players in there. They actually got some veterans there, and they play a tough-minded basketball. They're physical, and as you said, they're in the fifth spot. And if the season started today, it's not the season, but if the playoffs started today, they would take on Indiana. Um, that would be an intriguing first round matchup there.
Yeah, it seemed like that'd probably be pretty good matchup to watch, honestly, with those two teams. But I do want to bring up that game from last night. That was crazy. The
No,
Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh my goodness, that was a good game. I didn't expect that to happen. Those guys balled out. They came to play, especially when you're going to play the Lakers, you're going to come out to play. But Chicago edged it out in the last, I want to say, 5 seconds of the game and won it on a buzzer beater over LeBron. So that was awesome to watch. That was a great game.
yeah. So Chicago, they're in the play-in right now. That's where they're going to be. And you know, they're going to be either the seventh or eighth seed if they survive the play-in, right?
Right.
So that means a date with either Cleveland or Boston. But
Yeah, that's kind of
um,
kind of
but
scary.
but I tell you, Chicago has been playing well lately. They've won 4 straight games.
Yeah.
They're on the uptick, and Chicago, they could be sneaky. I don't think they'll get past Cleveland or Boston if they make it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I could see them extending one of those teams to eh, maybe 6 games. Maybe I can
Maybe
see
six.
them. I can see them extending Cleveland to 6 and Boston. I think it won't go to 5. But I don't think they would get swept by any of
No,
those teams. No, I don't
oh
think they
no,
would get
man.
swept.
They play with a lot of energy and fire. I think it'll be a good series, whoever they do play. But yeah, they're trying to come along towards the end of the season. When we talk about the top five, when it comes to the Eastern Conference, you got Donovan Mitchell and Allen over there killing it. I think Allen had a double double last night. 29 points, 14 rebounds. He balled out. And they look real good last night. Cleveland did. I don't know if you've seen that game also. But they look real good.
Yeah, Cleveland, what I find with them, and if we talk about how to be successful in the playoffs, I really feel if yeah, and I know you mentioned Donovan Mitchell. Um, I think the key to Cleveland's success actually is Darius Garland, right?
Yeah, he's been balling.
Darius Garland. He, I, it just seems like he plays better when Mitchell's either not shooting well or is taking a night off, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I would like to see Darius Garland show that aggressiveness because if his 3 pointers going and if his 3 pointers going, he's unstoppable basically because that means he can start driving the lane. Then he can start dropping it off to those bigs like Jared Allen, that like you mentioned, and also Evan Mobley. I really think if Darius Garland raises his game in the playoffs, Cavaliers could win the championship. They actually could, and that is they can. If he does, I know you're laughing, but no, man, I really think they could if Darius Garland raised his game. But that's a big if. I don't think it's on Donovan Mitchell. Um, if and this is kind of a critique of Donovan Mitchell. If you look at his track record, um, he's never been to the conference finals. When he was with Utah, he never got there. He One of the years when Utah had what was a number one seed, like Cleveland's a number one seed in the East, Utah got bounced in the second round. So Donovan Mitchell has a rep, and it's like, all right, well, are you going to take your team to the next level? I don't know. I'm not confident that Donovan Mitchell really can. I don't even know if he's the best player on a championship team, right? So that's why
Mm.
I'm saying that if Darius Garland raises his game, which his game is raised, but go into the playoffs and don't try to play conservative or play in play loose and try to take over the game. That's how Darius Garland has to play. If he does that, I think the Cavaliers could win the championship. That's I want to stick with that. That's my
That
feelings
is
of that.
that is that's a big pill to swallow for me because when you go and you look at Boston and what they did last year, and who they played against and the way that they dominated that series in the finals, I don't know. You got Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown balling consistently. They are number two in the East right now. They are the champs until they are beaten. I don't know if Cleveland has enough to beat them in 7 games. But we do have, it can happen because they have owned them this season. And they played pretty well when they were, playing against them. So, but I don't know, man. Like Boston, when they get in the playoffs, they showed that they could do it. Jalen Brown has been showing up. I would say the last 2 weeks, this boy has been balling. The move he put on somebody the other night, it was ridiculous. He dunked on their whole team. Um, Jalen Brown is a beast, and then Jason Tatum, he's just been consistent all year. So we'll see. You know what I mean? Like we will see what happens in the playoffs. But it's like I said, the Celtics being at number two, they're where they want to be. Yeah, they do want to have number one throughout, but I think with them at least being at number two, if they do finish at number two, they'll be all right.
Yeah,
With whoever.
they're gonna finish at number two. I mean, because there's only 10 games left, Like
Right.
right now, like Cleveland will have to just totally tank.
They're
Um,
4 games behind them right now. So yeah, they would have to tank.
y-
Absolutely.
yeah, no, they're actually 5 games. So they would have to
Oh, yeah,
actually
you're right.
totally tank. It's almost improbable that Boston will catch them.
Right.
Um, and
Especially with 3 games left.
the and you're right. Boston's the champion, and you have to beat the champ. I guess the only thing that bothers me about Boston is that they give up big leads. They fall in love with the 3 pointer,
With the 3 pointer. Yep.
and that's why they give up big leads. And you know, um, I just think Cleveland has with the acquisition of DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta. Cleveland now has that wing that can guard Tatum and Brown, right? Now it's not like he's going to stop them, but he will be able to slow them down. One of them, whoever he guards, and then once you're able to do that there, then you can uh, put Mobley on someone else, right? So it helps. That acquisition helps Cleveland, and again with Boston, they they're gonna have to stop falling in love with the three.
I don't think they
Um,
can. That's their tendency. I don't think they can. They get into that rhythm, they start hitting threes, and that's how they,
mm-hmm,
take over or, completely destroy teams when they play them
mm-hmm,
out, or that's how they let teams back into the game. So that's just
yeah,
what they do and the way that they play, man. They've been doing it for I want to say the past 3 years now. So
mm-hmm,
he's got them free for all, shooting that three whenever they're available. And it's been working for them. But you do have a point there with them picking up the acquisition and being able to lock down at least one of them. So the other player has to take over the game because you can't guard them both. So
mm-hmm,
we will
mm-hmm,
see. You know what I mean? We'll
yeah,
see. And then we also got New York, man. New York, Jalen Brunson is balling. And then for him and Carl Anthony Towns to be in the third position, I wouldn't think that they would have been there. But you got a good coach over there. They've been balling out with them being 45 and 27 is very surprising to me. I didn't think that their record was going to be where they're at right now, being in third place. But
yeah,
um,
yeah,
New York is a hard team to beat at home, and they're gritty. So there is some top contenders in this top five. Honestly,
yeah. So Jalen Brunson, he's been out for a couple of weeks, maybe three. I don't know, maybe going on 3 weeks with the ankle injury, I believe. And they've been staying afloat. If you look at their last 10 games, they're 5-5, so they've been like a 500 team. Um,
but imagine if he wasn't hurt, where would
right?
they be? Would they
Yeah,
be
but uh,
ahead of Boston? You know
no,
what I'm
I don't
saying?
think
That's how
so.
they've been balling.
Nah, I don't even. No, they wouldn't be ahead of Boston, even if he wasn't hurt. I just think the Knicks, they've lost a toughness when they let Hartenstein signed with Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, you
And
talk about that.
also when they made the trade for Carl Anthony Towns with Minnesota,
Yeah.
it wasn't so much Julius Randle, but I thought that when they traded also the guard, what's his
The
name?
guy with the red hair. I can't remember his last name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they'll come to me, but they lost the toughness in my opinion. And that's what made them so dangerous last year. And I just thought that if they had bought that again, they would have ran it back. Then it wouldn't have surprised me at all for New York to come out of the East if they would have had those same players. But they made the trade, and not saying that Carl Anthony Towns hasn't been good. He's been good, but that toughness for rebounding defensively, they're not as tough defensively as they were last year.
Yeah, this is true. They do
And
not
that was
have that
right.
toughness. You're right.
And DiVincenzo, Dante DiVincenzo.
Even
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so yeah, I mean, because man, if you remember last year when he came off the bench,
Yeah, he was
he
balling.
played tough. He was balling, and then you combined him with Josh Hart. You
Right.
know, those guys, they were just tough,
Yeah, they were gritty. They were gritty.
real gritty, real gritty. And
Yeah.
I just don't see that this year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Indiana, uh, I wouldn't be surprised if they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why not?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, didn't they?
I,
Didn't they get there last year?
they got there last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they because if you look at it, all right now, once again, if the seeding holds up, say if they beat Detroit in the first round, they would take on Cleveland in the second round. If
That's gonna
Cleveland
be
gets
a
scared
good
of her,
series.
but
That'd be a good
hey,
series.
that would be a good series. They could take Cleveland. They could
Man,
do it. They could
I
do it.
I got more respect for Tyrese Halliburton. Over the last couple weeks, he hit that jump shot, falling out of bounds over Giannis and got fouled with zero point 0.3 seconds left. Hit a 3-pointer, and then he hit the game winner at the foul line. Like
Hmm.
that was insane, man. Like if you were to see that shot, like to watch it in live, real life, like that is a true professional, man. He was running full speed towards the baseline, out of bounds, and hit a 3-pointer, fall out of bounds.
Yeah,
Like that kid is a problem.
yeah. No, no. Indiana is tough, man. They can score. They scored 162 points yesterday.
Wow. Then you got
So
Miles Turner balling too.
yeah, no, that whole team,
Yeah.
Siakam.
Yep.
Um,
Siakam balling too.
yeah, man. No, man. Indiana has the squad. Don't be surprised. No, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hmm.
Now, one team that's done, I'm sorry to say, Milwaukee. With Damian
Yeah.
Lillard, with Damian Lillard going down
Yeah.
with blood clots, man.
That's crazy.
I don't think he's coming back this year.
No,
I don't think so, man. He's without. I mean, of course you got Giannis, but without Damian, nah.
yeah, it's not the same.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap, man.
They don't got
Because
they don't got Holiday over there, so can't do nothing about it. Got no backup, really.
right, because the first round. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at this here. So Atlanta can't catch them. All right, so they're going to clinch the sixth seed, right? Maybe by some miracle they could. Well, I'm not going to say miracle. They're only a half game behind Detroit, but I just don't see them catching Detroit because Detroit's on the upswing and
Yeah,
Milwaukee is on the downswing. They'll face New York in the first round,
right.
and they're not going to beat the Knicks. They're just not.
No,
No.
no, they're not. No, they're not. And then you got last but not least, you got uh Detroit over there. Number 5, 41-32. They got Chad Cunningham, um, and Jaden Ivey. So I don't know, man. They've been very sneaky. They could surprise the team if they come in there and think they're just gonna beat them to beat them, you know. So, but we see what happens with them. They're not, it's a young team, so they don't
Yeah,
got a lot of veterans over there. So, but
yeah, and
they
and
made a good run, man. They made a
yeah,
real good run.
yeah, and could they beat Indiana in the first round? Yeah, they could. I,
Yeah.
I just think I just think it's the experience.
Right. Exactly.
That's the only thing with
Yeah.
Detroit. You
Exactly.
um,
That is exactly what it is.
and as far as the play-in teams, Orlando is the team to watch there because if you remember Orlando's season,
Right.
Franz Wagner, I think. Yeah, I believe he was out for a good portion of the season. One of the Wagner brothers, Manchero, yeah, he was out for a big part. He's their player.
He's their main player. Yeah,
He's the
man.
main.
Yeah,
He's the main dude, right? And he
absolutely,
was out. Um,
absolutely.
and they're just beginning to get their groove now. And they here's the thing: if they can finish in the eighth seed, as the eighth seed, they'll play Cleveland, right? I don't think they'll beat Cleveland. I think they'll lose in 5 or 6 games. But the thing is that they play physical. They'll do enough to wear the Cavaliers down for the Cavaliers' second round
Yeah,
series. Because see, the thing is that when you are a top seed, what you want to do is you want to finish your series as
soon as
soon as
possible.
possible. You want to no,
Absolutely.
you don't want to go no more than 5 games,
Right.
so you can get ready for the next series. Because
Exactly.
you think about it, that's what Boston did last year. They got rid of these teams quick,
Yep.
and they
They
rested
were
up,
fresh.
and they were ready for the next.
They
They
were
were
fresh.
fresh.
Yeah, they were fresh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's what happened.
so
That's what happened.
going back to if Cleveland's going to beat Boston, that's what they better do,
Yeah, they
because
better speak.
they better sweep or gentlemen sweeps, because that's what Boston's going to be doing,
Right.
guaranteed.
Yeah,
They're
that's what
going
they
to
did
do
last
that.
year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't play around like that. Absolutely.
So you still got Boston coming out the East, right?
Yes, I still got Boston coming out the East until they get beat, man.
No, and I understand. I still do have Boston favorite, but I
Yeah,
still believe, if once again, if Darius Garland raised his game up like he's capable of doing, Cleveland could beat Boston. They could do it. Um, and I know
hmm.
I said the championship, and we're about to look at the Western Conference, but they could do it. But like you said, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.